Have you ever wondered what secrets lie hidden in the dusty corners of antique shops, waiting for the wrong person to discover them? Marcus had always been drawn to unusual artifacts. As an art history professor, he spent his weekends scouring estate sales and forgotten shops for interesting pieces to display in his home office. That Saturday morning in October, he found himself in a cramped antique store on the outskirts of town, its shelves packed with relics from bygone eras. The fan caught his eye immediately. It sat alone on a high shelf, its ivory handle carved with intricate symbols that seemed to shift in the dim light. The silk fabric was pristine despite its obvious age, depicting swirling clouds and ethereal figures dancing in an endless wind. When Marcus reached for it, the elderly shopkeeper appeared beside him with startling suddenness. "Ah, the sacred fan," the old man whispered, his voice barely audible above the store's creaking floorboards. "Been waiting for the right owner for decades. Belonged to a wind dancer from the mountains of Tibet. She used it in ceremonies to commune with the spirits of the air." Marcus examined the delicate craftsmanship, noting the unusual weight distribution and the almost imperceptible vibration in the handle. "How much?" The shopkeeper's eyes gleamed. "For you, Professor, $50. But I must warn you, some things are better left undisturbed." Marcus dismissed the warning as typical antique dealer theatrics and purchased the fan without hesitation. That evening, he placed it on his desk and began researching its origins. As he typed, a gentle breeze stirred the papers around him, despite all windows being closed. He glanced at the fan, noticing how the painted figures seemed more vivid in the lamplight. When he touched the handle again, the breeze intensified, carrying with it the faintest whisper of voices speaking in a language he didn't recognize. Intrigued rather than alarmed, Marcus began experimenting. A gentle wave of the fan produced cooling air on the warmest days. The whispers grew more distinct, almost melodic. He found himself using it constantly, addicted to the comfort it provided and the soothing sounds that accompanied each breeze. But the whispers began changing. By the third week, Marcus could distinguish individual voices among the chorus. They spoke in English now, their words barely audible but unmistakably present. "Come closer," they murmured. "Join us in the endless dance." The breezes grew stronger, sometimes knocking over coffee cups or scattering his papers across the room. Marcus started having dreams of floating through vast skies, his body weightless and translucent. He would wake gasping, his bedroom filled with swirling air that carried the scent of high mountain peaks and ancient incense. His colleagues noticed his distraction, his increasingly pale complexion, the way his clothes seemed to hang loose on his shrinking frame. The breaking point came during a faculty meeting. As the dean droned on about budget cuts, Marcus absently waved the fan he now carried everywhere. The conference room filled with a sudden, violent wind that sent papers flying and knocked over water glasses. His colleagues stared in shock as Marcus sat motionless, his eyes rolled back, his lips moving silently. The voices were no longer whispers. They roared through his mind like a hurricane, demanding he complete the ritual, demanding he join their eternal procession through the spaces between worlds. The fan burned in his hands, its carved symbols glowing with an inner light that only he could see. That night, Marcus stood on his apartment balcony, the sacred fan clutched in his trembling hands. The wind spirits circled him, invisible but unmistakably present, their voices now a deafening chorus of ancient songs and forgotten prayers. They showed him visions of their realm, a place where the wind never stopped, where souls danced forever in the endless sky. "One more wave," they promised. "One final gesture, and you'll never feel earthbound again." Marcus raised the fan, feeling his feet lift slightly off the concrete. The city lights blurred below him as he began to rise, the wind spirits welcoming him home. His last coherent thought was a realization that the gentle breezes had never been a gift. They had been a leash. The next morning, building maintenance found Marcus's apartment empty, all windows wide open. The only trace of him was a delicate ivory fan lying on the balcony floor, its silk fabric fluttering in a breeze that touched nothing else. The sacred fan was returned to the antique shop, where it sits today, waiting patiently for its next owner to discover the seductive power of ancient winds and the terrible price of communion with spirits who have forgotten what it means to be human.